So yesterday we've talked more about the upcoming update as well as the huge list of developer responses that brought in some good news on one side while others not so great on the other side. Specifically, today I want to talk more about the issue of character customization and armor sets, and I've read many of your comments. It seems that many of you feel left down by the direction Bioware is currently heading with Anthem. With each passing statement, it seems that they are continuing to shoot themselves in the foot at every corner, angering the fans in the process, and then later having to come up with excuses in order to rectify their mistakes. For the record, no, I'm not here to make an angry rant about anything, neither the developers nor the game, and if you're a long-time fan here, you probably already know this by now and from my past videos that I would much rather provide constructive feedback and present the latest info as calm and objective as possible, but that doesn't mean I can ignore the existing issues, and I think bringing up attention to them will help solve them faster. And I'm sure the overwhelming majority of you guys feel the same as well. And about the game in general, there's this strange love and hate relationship that I currently have with Anthem. I find the gameplay in Anthem to be very fun. I waited for a very long time to play this kind of game, but all of the connecting systems that are supposed to make it better keep falling left and right. Anyway, let's go to the root of the problem that we currently have on hand and where the issue all started. So a few weeks back, these Elysian caches were announced by Ben Irving and a lot of other people at Bioware within a live stream, and the lead producer over at Bioware even mentioned that they would contain cosmetics. While he indeed never truly mentioned armors specifically, he did create the appearance they would in fact contain them, and if you check any social media platform where the game is currently talked about, like for example Reddit or Twitter, you will see most people being of the same impression, as in they thinking that these caches would have contained these armor sets. Even a couple of days back, nobody over at Bioware came in to rectify that statement, even though by then the pressure was already mounting, reaching peak levels, and people were asking through all possible channels if these caches will contain armor sets. On top of that, we also had of course Ben Irving's tweet from a couple of days back, which arguably sparked this whole mess right now. It didn't exactly clarify this, and people were still under the impression that I've just mentioned before, and in that initial post somebody asked when can we expect to be able to earn armor sets in Anthem, to which Ben replied Elysian chest should be up next week, and he gave no other information on top of that. Well, that eventually came back crashing like a truck when Chris Schmidt, the lead system designer at Anthem, confirmed on Discord that the armor sets will not be in fact present in either of these caches. This even caused Ben to later come in and clarify his statement, and if this was a honest mistake on his part or misleading on purpose, I'll let you guys decide, but I will tag in his explanation of that matter, which came in yesterday when he said, "My bad here, I read the question as when can we earn vanity in Anthem as opposed to when can we earn armor. There are no armor packs in Elysian caches, but there are a lot of very cool vinyls, arrival animations, victory poses and emotes, more details coming." The replies to this tweet though were not so friendly, to say the least. A lot of the people were looking forward to these Elysian caches as a reason to continue playing Anthem or to come back to it and earn more items, specifically armor sets, and many of them have expressed their disappointment in Bioware's decision to not include them in these caches. Many of them commented that this removed pretty much any reason for them to still continue playing or to come back to Anthem. Someone even brought up an interesting subject, and this person said, "Today announces armors won't be in Elysian caches. In a few days we'll listen to your feedback and decided to include armor packs, all for damage control." And yeah, for some reason this entire situation somehow makes me believe that this is exactly what's going to happen. I think Bioware will be forced to do something within the next few days or within the next week. So yeah, here you have it. Still, you're going to earn some cosmetics in that game, and at no point did Bioware explicitly say that we will earn these armor sets, but it didn't clarify either, so it's really hard to not hold it against them. It also seems that there's a lot of miscommunication going on, not only between Bioware and us the fans, but also within the studio itself. It's not the first time when we see a head over at Bioware coming up with a statement and later having to rectify it by the team because it was false. And on one side, I do understand that Ben might have been in a rush to just reply to somebody, or he was very busy to pay attention to these sorts of things. I'm sure Bioware is currently on a very tight schedule trying to bring in as much as possible in the game, but that doesn't excuse the fact that weeks prior to this issue, nobody coming to rectify anything until the very last second, and when people were already asking left and right what was going on. At this point, myself as well as many of the fans are asking, well, if new armor sets won't be coming in the shop neither in-game, when are these new armor sets coming up anyway? It's strange to even ask this question considering that Bioware's main source of revenue after selling the game was planned to be coming from these cosmetics and from the microtransaction shop. Just a few days before Anthem's release, we used to see a lot of armor sets in-game, and some were even showcased in many of the IGN videos as well as previous live streams. Whatever happened to those and why aren't they being brought up into the game? I know that the current discussion right now and the current answer is that they are still working upon it, but those armors were in the game and were showcased not too long ago. And I'm not talking about concept art, I mean in-game rendered armors that were physically on the characters, and they were showed just months before the game went live and even a few days before the demos came up, as well as featured videos, as I've said. And these armors looked very cool, they looked very interesting. They might still not solve the entire issue as it was only like a handful of them being showed on top of the ones we already saw, but still plenty enough to keep us going and to be a good start. The thing is, Bioware right now is in a very tight situation. On one hand, the system they created in which your components are pretty much split completely from what physically appears on your character leaves them no room for them to drop armor sets for you outside of these caches or outside the in-game microtransaction shop. So for example, if you take your regular looter shooter or MMO, you typically find loot, it drops, and it all has its different, styles, different armor sets, different looks. So when you drop a new piece of gear, you will physically see that appearance being changed onto you. The way Anthem was made, which I can see the reasoning behind this, is that all of this is split, so your components are distinct from the armor sets that appear on you, and this is something that can be either good or bad depending how it is implemented. Having the components distinct from the armor sets helps out with you not looking like a complete mess. Like there's games in there where you're pretty much forced to not equip full sets of armors and look cool because they don't have good stats, and instead are forced to make this mismatch of components that don't really fit up too much together. But on the other hand, it also causes the issue when you don't have enough armors and cosmetics to give to the character, which is in this case Bioware and Anthem, and it ends up that even though they have a very good character customizer, it falls short because you don't have enough armor sets to put on your character and to modify them. I find it very cool that Anthem lets you control a lot of areas of your body and pick whatever material you want, pick whatever color you want. I also find it cool that there's a lot of vinyls that you can add, a lot of animations to your character, but I can see why a lot of people can get mad because there's not enough armor sets in the game to take advantage of these mechanics. And I will continue to say this, but Anthem is such a missed opportunity. There was such big expectations, and unfortunately many of these problems are detracting a lot to it. I will also bring in an argument that I made a long time ago in regards to the in-game shop, and that is for Bioware to simply stop rotating cosmetics in it and instead pretty much throw in everything they have available in the game right now, everything currently in terms of armor sets at least, and let players decide if they want to buy something. Currently, it's more than obvious that people aren't spending that much money on the microtransaction shop, and they aren't even spending their own coins, the in-game coins, because, well, there's nothing for you to incentivize doing that. So bring in whatever sets they currently have, stop rotating them for a while, just put them all in the shop over there, put them as a scroll down list, and let players decide what they want to buy. And when you introduce new sets, new cool sets, then you can start thinking about rotating them in the shop, about adding them as rewards to certain events, which kind of brings me to the next point, which is that some of these sets need to be made as rewards to certain activities, challenges, endgame content or achievements. This is something that has to be done. To make it short and to make the system perfect, there needs to be a combination of the following. Some of the sets need to be in the microtransaction shop, nobody's denying that. That is going to be the main source of revenue, so I don't hold anything against Bioware in this regard, while some of the other sets must be obtained through in-game means, either challenges, achievements, and endgame content, as I've said. There needs to be for both of these systems to coexist in the game for the sake of its longevity. That is something that a lot of other games are doing as well, and most other games that have a similar revenue model do this exact same thing. They sell some of the cosmetic stuff for money exclusively, while they also give others as rewards for completing in-game content. And I don't mean just buying them with coins that you get from doing expeditions and challenges. I don't mean just that. I mean achievements coming from something, like giving you a sense of progression and satisfaction for playing the game and being rewarded accordingly. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say for today, but before finishing this video, in the previous one that I've posted, I asked you guys to post whatever armor set you wish to see being added in Anthem, and I let you guys decide from whatever other game exists out there, including Bioware games, but others as well. And there were some pretty awesome suggestions in there, and I had to pick this one because it's also, well, very close to home. So one of you guys said, so far I'm hoping to see these sets in the near future, and of course this person gave the link to the most recent concept art coming from Bioware, and I do agree, a lot of these sets look freaking awesome, and I did check them out. You also saw me featuring one of these concept arts in one of the previous video thumbnails, and I specifically mean this suit over here. This one looks really awesome. I particularly like this one, and you can see all of these different helmet sets that can appear. And this is something that Bioware could make and add in the game. Something like this, having something like a modular helmet that you can exchange and, you know, just make a little bit different no matter how you want it. This is something that I would love to see in the game, and the reason I said this hits close to home is because this was actually made by somebody working right now at Anthem. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to say on the subject. In the meantime, of course, a thumbs up and a subscribe would be super appreciated, and I'll see you guys next time. So peace out.